everyone is keeping their eye on what we call chronic absenteeism. And so I think the first maybe instinct was, well, that's just because of the pandemic. Now that the pandemic's over, it'll all just take care of itself. And that's not the case. So there must be more to it. There must be something else behind it. And I do think that in addition to kids having access to more screens, more content, then how do you shut it off? And that, I think, is what we're seeing. They do have trouble shutting it off. So they stay up later. Or even if they do shut it off, then it sticks with them. And so they're maybe apprehensive to come to school because of some of these interactions they've had at night or late at night.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now let's get back to the interview.
I'm Travis Brock, Superintendent of the Affton School District in St. Louis, Missouri. We have 4 K through 12 schools, which is about 2,400 students. And then we also have an early childhood center that serves 200 students.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here on the Smart Social podcast, where we highlight insights and experience and ideas from superintendents who are doing the good work and leading a staff of what I call boots on the ground as they are nurturing resilient kids for their future. Our goal here at smartsocial.com is to keep kids safe on these devices. For those of you listening on audio, I'm holding up my iPhone, but your kids might have an Android or they might be begging for a gaming device. Our dream is safety so they can be successful in the walls of the school and the walls of your house so they can someday shine online. And that means at the age of 16 and above, they're jumping on social media with their parents' permission and their parents' guidance to brand themselves the way that I did when I was young, when I started my first career at Disney Studios, learning how to brand things and make sure parents wanted to take them home with them at the store and so on. Superintendent, I'm excited to have you here today. Let's dive into question number 1. My question for you today is around parent participation. You might call it parent engagement. And the question is, what are your suggestions as a superintendent, as perhaps a former teacher, and you've come up the ladder and you've worked so hard? What are your suggestions for other districts to increase parent engagement? And are there any specific channels, events, or any ways you're communicating with parents that get the biggest turnout?
I think anytime something is relevant in the mainstream news media, so when a new report comes out, something that they're probably hearing, how do you come behind that? And then boil that down to the local level so that they know this is not just something nationally that maybe other districts and other kids and other parents need to be tuned into, but we need to be tuned into that here locally as well.
Yeah, that's actually a really great idea. Can you give us an example of that? Is there a way that you've communicated with parents to say, you're seeing this in the news, here's how it hits us locally?
Yeah, just recently over the summer, the Anxious Generation came out, and that really grabbed a lot of attention. And so we messaged our parents and said, here's something that is making a lot of news nationally, and we think you need to be aware of that here locally, as well as give them just a few tips from my perspective, but ultimately empowering them to look at the information and consider how they might be able to respond as a parent.
Hey, that's a great example. Okay, my next question for you is about excessive screen time impact on student behavior. Parents who are watching this right now, we want to make sure you're engaged with the district, with your school, and that you're there on campus. Because if we can partner with parents like you, we can help to protect the community. It's not just protecting your kiddo, it's protecting their friends so your kiddo is safer. But also, we want to make sure that excessive screen time, which we hear from schools all over the country, is the issue, is something that we're dialoguing about early and often. So, Superintendent, how are you seeing excessive screen time impact kids' motivation, self-esteem, academic performance, and decision-making in your district?
Because they have access to screens, it then begs the question, what are they consuming? And a lot of times outside of school, those things are very short video clips, things that only last a couple seconds, maybe less than a minute. And so where I think that's leading to is possibly smaller attention spans or reduced attention spans. And then what they're consuming can sometimes have an impact on them. So if they're consuming something that they're perceived as threatening, or if they're consuming something that they think, I don't have that, or I don't look like that, or that's not something that I feel like I'm currently living, it can damage their self-esteem. And so those are the things that I would ask parents to consider, is not just the screen, but what's on it, how are they consuming that? And ultimately, that's what we're seeing is the result of that.
So well said. Couldn't agree more. Very important dialogue for all of our parent listeners right now. Now, parents, I want to talk with you about our live evening events. What you're about to see is a little tiny excerpt from this. Parents are asking us all over the country, Josh, what advice would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? It's one of the biggest questions we give. Let's hear from a real student about how she might help a friend recognize those red flags.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start. If they feel, for instance, being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
I want you to notice, parents, that this is a big part of our live event. We have parent questions, we have student answers, parent questions, superintendent, psychologist, therapist answers, and it's very, very dynamic we're hearing from even superintendents who have a lot of staff, like the one we have right now. They're saying, wow, I learned a lot along the way. I want you to notice a little word that the teen just used, because we all know that teens have a different vocabulary. She said it would have been better if we just unadded them. Parents would have said, just unfollow that person, but kids call it unadded. They're being more gentle. There's a lot of nuance that we have in our program, parents. I hope you'll join us for one of them. Talk to your school district about, hey, how do I jump into one of these? How can you chat? Okay, parents who are partner districts, a part of the partner district community, we have weekly live parent events, about 50 or more a year. Over the summer, there's less, but during the school year, it's a bunch of them. We have teen-led video lessons in the program, as you just saw. They're phenomenal, real teen vocabulary you're learning, and then a premium parent newsletter all year long. Here's a news clip just from a couple weeks ago of how we're changing communities to save some lives. Let's watch this. You are the one that needs to decide whether it's too much screen time or just right.
But parents and teachers know when it comes to teenagers and social media, that's easier said than done. So in an effort to protect students from the dangers of being chronically online, schools are doing something you might not expect, asking parents to get online too.
It makes an awareness to parents and students. It also gives them an understanding of some of the warning signs.
That's just one reason why Deron Wilson, an executive director of school engagement, says his district uses the app Smart Social. It's an online app designed to educate parents and students on how to avoid strangers and dangerous situations online.
Kind of like, I want to say, a trap. When you get involved in the cyberbullying, you might start friending somebody on an app, or somebody might say, hey, they might send me your picture.
Smart Social founder Josh Ochs says while there are a lot of things that can and should scare us online, the increased number of parents he is able to reach underscores the importance of growing social gathering spaces online.
Back in the day, I used to be one of the top social media safety speakers nationwide, but I was flying around to certain school districts, and they're the best of intentions, but only 20 or 30 parents would show up. We get 10 times the amount of parents to show up, and they want to learn from the convenience of their home or office how to keep their kids safe on social media. They want to ask live questions. They want to learn how to have dialogue starters with your kids that actually get their kids excited about talking with their parents and strengthening that relationship.
Darcy Wertique, Spectrum News.
All right, parents. So we have great information just like that and more. Remember, we're covering 50 different topics, and it's really all year long. Every single month, we have something really exciting and replays from the month before. Okay, we're back with our guest expert, Superintendent. I want to talk about behaviors contributing to chronic absenteeism. Some districts are saying screen time, sleep disturbances, increased activity, anxiety and activity, depression, cyberbullying, and I'm going to add in screen fatigue because of late night scrolling are contributing to absenteeism. Are you seeing this or other related online behaviors impacting student attendance? Or maybe they're just like going, I'm tired, Mom, I don't want to go to school today. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think that that's something within our district, but then also our neighboring districts, everyone is keeping their eye on what we call chronic absenteeism. And so I think the first maybe instinct was, well, that's just because of the pandemic. Now that the pandemic's over, it'll all just take care of itself. And that's not the case. So there must be more to it. There must be something else behind it. And I do think that in addition to kids having access to more screens, more content, then how do you shut it off? And that, I think, is what we're seeing. They do have trouble shutting it off. So they stay up later. Or even if they do shut it off, then it sticks with them. And so they're maybe apprehensive to come to school because of some of these interactions they've had at night or late at night.
Yeah, so well said. And so true. Parents, it's important to look at if your kids are not attending school and it has to do with them having the phone in their room, you might consider something where you're charging it in your bedroom or the adult or parent or guardian's bathroom at night so that they can get the sleep that they might need. Superintendent, the next question is screen time impact on home environment. What do you suggest parents can do to create a more peaceful environment at home and set boundaries around excessive screen time and gaming?
I think just like anything that's important with students and parents, they have to have honest conversations about it. You have to be intentional. You have to have clear expectations, be consistent with those. And that involves technology. And so you don't have to just completely take it away. But once you set those parameters, once you have that understanding of what the process is going to be or what that's going to be, you got to be consistent with it. And if for some reason that gets off track, you've got to be willing to revisit it and just reevaluate that so that it's not one conversation. I said it once, it should work for the next couple days, weeks, months, whatever. It's something that you're probably going to have to revisit.
Yeah. That ongoing conversation, that ongoing relationship, parents, is really, as the superintendent is alluding to, is the only safety app that helps, right? That constant, a lot of people ask us all over the country, Josh, what's your advice here? How do we lock down this phone? And unfortunately, our answer is the only way to do it is to have a rich ongoing dialogue with your kids so that they know best practices of what to avoid and when to come to mom and dad or the guardian. What is your advice to parents who feel a little overwhelmed with the digital world? My kids are online a lot. What's your advice you would give to a parent of a kid, a parent of a kid maybe in middle school on how they can keep kids safe?
I think just always evaluating what you feel is the right decision for yourself, your family, your own child, but know you're not alone. So you do have to reach out to the families within your peer group, other families then. So it doesn't have to be something where you have to go it alone. Not only can the school help, people that work for the school, but other parents can be involved with that conversation too, so that you really are drawing upon, the wisdom of a lot of people. You don't just have to say, well, I have to figure it out all on my own and there's no one else out there experiencing the same thing I am. Trust me. Others are experiencing the exact same thing. So don't be on an island and reach out to others out there that can help you.
That's the best tip I've heard all month. Excellent. Thank you to all of our parents watching us. Superintendent, thanks for your time here today. And parents, remember, whenever you're online, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching how you behave online. We'll see all of you on the next episode. I'm Josh Ochs, the founder of smartsocial.com. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.